Church in Hyattsville, and I did. And they told me to bring my daughter over, who was at the time, she was 8. She's now 28. I guess I shouldn't be telling her age. And so we went over and she loved it. She fell in love with the steel pan. And then I became a CAFÉ tutor, and so did my husband. And we've been there and a part of the CAFÉ family ever since. And I really appreciate everything that CAFÉ has done for my own daughter, because she was very shy. And so playing the pan, you have to be out in public. And that developed her self-confidence. And today she's a wonderful physician who is taking care of her patients at this difficult time.
So congratulations to your daughter, and congratulations to a CAFÉ graduate who is now sharing her talents as a frontline hero for us, to the many who are in need. So thank you for her service. Thank you so much. So this has been over 20 years of relationshiping with CAFÉ then?
Correct.
Wonderful.
Enjoyed it.
Great. So can you tell us about the topic that you've chosen for today's session and why you chose that particular topic?
Yes, so I decided to focus on bringing out the best in your child during this difficult period. So we can look at during COVID-19, social distancing, and then we'll examine a little bit about what happens post COVID-19 period. And it's really important that we continue to encourage our children to study, to do well, to do their assignments during the day. And as parents, we really need to develop a routine for them, because remember, they're going through changes. And so at the end of this, we don't want our children left behind, because we're trying to figure out how to adjust to them being at home, completing their schooling. So that is why I've decided to focus on this topic. And that way we can bring out the best in our children in spite of this pandemic.
So before you get into what is your presentation, I'd like to ask out of curiosity, and perhaps because I feel this may be a concern for parents now, that kids have now been out of school for practically, their full school year, having not been in a formal school setting since March. And we don't anticipate school is going, or at least now, as of now, we don't know that school is going to be reopening until, the new year, when that being in September. What would you say to the many parents who are pretty much having the difficulty in trying to manage this new dynamic that the kids aren't typically in a formal work study setting, because they are taking advantage of not having to be in their usual academic environment. Mm-hmm. But how are we as parents going to properly assist our kids with managing the routine of not having school? A lot of the kids perhaps may have even changed their schedules around whatever their assigned hour of study is, and then they're at their own doing what they want. How would you address that, in terms of coping for parents?
So this is a great question. That is a great question, Grace. And the thing is, this period here is where we have to figure out how we are going to be flexible enough to this new norm that we are faced with. And the quicker as parents we adjust to this new norm, we can then help our students, our children, to come along. Because schooling, as we know it, is not taking place in the traditional way, being in the brick and mortar setting with a teacher in person, one-on-one there with your child. This is a new situation. We've never seen anything like this before. And so now we have to adjust, because with these viruses, and there's so many that are coming at us now in these times, that we have to figure out if we do have a vaccine for COVID-19 and when we have addressed the situation, our health is fine as far as the COVID-19 virus. What happens if a new one comes along? So we have to learn to be flexible, and we have to teach our children how to be flexible as well. But at the same time, we have to put some guidelines in place. Otherwise, we will lose this precious time to expose our children to everything possible. And as parents, and now in the home where most of us are, in some instances, sadly, we have lost our employment, and in some instances, we're working from home. But we need to use this time to develop our children and to say, look, you may not get up in the morning and catch that bus or walk to school, but school is here. School is at home. And what happens is, now you have set that up. This is your new school. So now you have to put certain things in place, such as, this is your space to complete your work. This is my space. And parents, you now have that rare opportunity to check in to make sure that the classwork being assigned by the teacher is being done. Some of you may have children whose schools may likely be sending material by email, and you actually have to make sure your child is opening that email and completing the assignment by deadline. If you've got a teenager, and as we know, teens will, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to get up now, I need more time, and they want an extra hour and an extra hour. If that assignment is due May 9th by midnight, you need to ask them, because now your role has kind of transformed to a certain extent. So you're not only parent, but you're a teacher. But remember too, you have the teachers who are available, and they're being paid to assist your child. So you need to insist that, they help you in this process, help you to educate your child, help you to, set assignments, or to complete the assignments that are set, and make sure that they're completed in a timely manner.
And again, just to kind of take you and maybe taking you a little bit off course, but it is in relationship to the CAFÉ experience. What has been the CAFÉ experience with the change in routine, and how has it been applied and enforced? And please do, after, let's go right into your presentation, but as is applicable, what would you say has been the modicum of operations since we've been on?
So for me, in my situation, again, we have to be flexible. I am normally in person at CAFÉ, as you know, with our CAFÉ students. And I love it. I love our CAFÉ children. You know, they're wonderful. They're energetic, they're smart. You know, they keep us all on our toes. And now not having that experience where I can actually, you know, reach out and touch them, or where they could show me something, or perhaps say, here, this is what so-and-so is doing. Can I join in the project with them? So I really miss that a great deal. And so now, even for me, because I'm teleworking, I actually have to tape my sessions and make sure that I share the link so that our CAFÉ students have that experience. But what I have noticed is that in speaking with a few parents, they actually, once the regular school day is completed, they actually go over to the other activity, which is the CAFÉ activities, because they recognize that it's very beneficial for their children. And what we provide at CAFÉ, we make sure that we've got, at least for me in the language arts area, I make sure that there are enough reading assignments. You've got to provide summaries of what you've read. You've got to read questions and respond. Share new words, provide the meanings, so synonyms, antonyms, and this helps to enhance their learning. That is what we do at CAFÉ, and we want to continue along those lines. There is no reason for our children to be left behind during this time while we figure out how to adjust to this new norm. It's very important that we continue what we're doing, continue to develop our child's interest, continue to develop our child's ability to read at different levels, write, express themselves. And so there is no, you know, stopping and figuring out how we're going to deal with this and so forth. We have to continue along these lines for the interest of our children, to make sure that they are not left behind. And I know that some people are thinking, oh my, this is one more thing. But your child needs to be developed every second of the way. So schooling ends, but as always, you always want to further enhance whatever it is that your child has been exposed to during the day. So I ask CAFÉ parents to, you know, continue what it is that we've been doing in person. Go through, review the information we provide you. Make sure that your child is completing the assignments. Ask questions. There's information that we provide that would help them to critically think outside of the box, because we want to develop that level of functioning. It's very important that our children become well-rounded in the society in which we live.
So I certainly think that you've provided so much already in just sharing these answers to the questions that I've posed. But I certainly don't want to take away from how you have developed what your presentation is for today. And I'll like to say, please let us go forward with that as you share what your thoughts are on the topic of today's discussion.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. So at this point, do you want me to load anything or to upload the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, please, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
So just with some technical twists here, I'm going to make sure that the presentation is ready.
Mhm. Sure.
And I'm going to share
Sure,
my
and
screen.
just, yeah, if you won't mind, as you load the presentation, again, just we're going to focus on a few points here as we bring out the best in our children during this social distancing period, which is a result of the COVID-19 virus. And it is all an attempt to keep ourselves safe, our children safe, our communities safe. But again, we have to continue learning. So next slide, please, Grace.
Sure.
And you can, yep, slideshow. So our overview will be as follows. We want to share some points on how to develop the full potential of your child. We want to help your child adjust to this new school environment. We want to prepare your child for this new schooling, even in an old schooling setting. We'll talk about that. We'll work with your child, and you will help us. We'll help you work with your child as far as improving their academic performance. And we'll use tools provided by schools and CAFÉ to assess your child's competency level. We encourage other activities like CAFÉ's language arts, but there are also other avenues at CAFÉ, music, playing the steel pan, that helps enhance students' ability to do well in math. Next slide, please. So during this period, and I alluded to it a little bit earlier, you do want to make sure that your child is going through some smooth transitions. You need to put in place certain things to help these changes be as smooth as possible. I suggest that you have a place separate where your child can do their schoolwork. You can be not too far off, but if you have a meeting, of course, you may need to remove yourself and go to another part of your place that you reside. You have to make sure that there is a separation between what it is your child is doing at school and what it is that they may be doing elsewhere. You cannot have your child leaving the school setting environment, that desk, and heading over to someone else in the house, maybe a grandparent. It's very important that they remain focused and they remain disciplined as they complete their assignments. So this solid routine is really to help your child remain grounded. So the solid routine of having that desk where they will continue to do their work, where their books or other material, any printed material that you may have, is there, and it's safe and hand. Put papers, pencils, pens, whatever is needed, and that laptop should be available. Now, I do know that some of you may not have had a laptop sent to you by your school, but nevertheless, some schools, as I understand it, are mailing homework assignments, meaning using the post office to get the material to you. Please, parents, make sure that your child is completing the assignments. Put that material right where they're supposed to complete that schoolwork. Whatever assignments, homework, everything is at that desk, that one workstation, and they get that work done by the assigned deadline date. Make sure that there's a routine in place so that you yourself, you can see whatever changes are being made. You can actually see the strengths as they transition to this new environment. You will see as they go through this process, you'll see how your child is like, okay, I am disciplined now. They get up in the morning and they have their routine. Those are strengths. And you can also see weaknesses where perhaps they're easily distracted. And you can actually work on that because you're now home. You can reach out to the teacher. You can reach out to, if there's a school psychologist or school counselor, to say, you know, how can I get some help in trying to improve on my child's weaknesses? Next slide, please. And Grace, thank you. So you want to check in on this new schooling, okay? So this new environment, you want to see how your child learns. If they're struggling with math, perhaps you may just want to stand over to see exactly what approach the teacher is using. Perhaps when you were learning math, there was a different approach. And maybe you just might want to introduce your approach of learning math to which you were exposed to your child. If you notice that the child is grasping that concept your way, then contact the teacher and say, this is what I've noticed. And, you know, I would like for my child to receive, you know, some tutoring assistance from this angle. Because some parents are having to figure out math, or maybe we may have forgotten. And so you can reach out to the teacher and just say, you know, this is what I've noticed. And maybe you can use this technique. And the teacher may well be open to it. If not, if it is that you can reach a math tutor with whom your child may be comfortable, then go ahead and do it that way. Because I know teachers have their own issues too about trying to teach online because it's just so outside of the norm. But again, as everyone adjusts to this new norm, you can try to figure out how to assist your child to bring out the best. And again, look at that class time. What time is that child supposed to be doing, you know, English? What time are they supposed to be doing math? What are they doing at that time? It's very critical that you look and make sure that that child is meeting the day's objectives set by that teacher. And again, we talked about the ability of the child using a new approach to learn a different concept. Sometimes it may be something that they saw online. There are lots of good and useful tools to teach, you know, various subjects. And so you may want to use some of the tools to teach, you know, math, introduce them to statistics and so forth at an early age, particularly with all of the discussion about this COVID-19 virus. And discussions can be had on the exponential factor. Our CAFÉ children may remember that we discussed that when they were trying to develop a means by which they can develop a cure. And so we talked about the exponential factor a little bit. So next slide, please. So you want to take this opportunity to really use every bit of a resource, whether it's school, whether it's CAFÉ assignments and the information that we share and the links that we provide to help your child improve their scores. And once your child's scores are improved and they do well, overall, their school's ratings improve, right? So this is how we can do it. We can use CAFÉ's assessments. When I have my sessions with them, we always have an assessment. And they can see how whatever we have read, there are questions related to those passages we have read. So when I provide questions, I want our CAFÉ children to respond to those questions based on the readings, because then we get to see how you're reading. Are you understanding what the you know, what the passage is about? Are you getting the core messages in that passage? And are you able to understand the questions and respond accordingly? So it's very important that you do this, because this is how you develop your child's competence in reading. You yourself can develop assessments for your child. You can review whatever passages we've sent from CAFÉ, or you can, based on material you may have in the house, you may just say, okay, here is an old newspaper. Read a part of this and tell me what you think. And it doesn't even have to be anything written or formal. It could be informal. You could just say, read this passage and just tell me what you think. Tell me what you read, what you understand. And you know right away from that whether your child is really following, digesting the information, and able to explain it. So in terms of overall school ratings, whenever our students do well, overall that school does well. So when each child does well, then that school's performance overall is it's really seen in a good light, because then overall their averages go up. And so what that means is that the school district's average will increase. And you want that for every single child, every single school district, because it means really and truly more funding for the schools. And at this point, we do want the schools to receive as much funding as possible, because now we're all in this technology era. So we've got to have enough resources to purchase enough laptops and to hire administrators to maintain those laptops and the platforms in which we operate. So next slide, please. So yes, so in terms of enhancing your child's learning, you will do so by the assignments that they complete through their new school setting, as well as what CAFÉ provides. It is not just a, oh my, here's one more thing. No, this is the only time that you may have with your child where you can get to see what's lacking, what needs improvement. And now you can take advantage to make the best of this situation with your child. You can bring out the best in your child through this time. Though sad it may be, in that so many people are losing loved ones, but while you can, you teach your child everything that you can about their learning environment. And in terms of what we do at CAFÉ, we try to make it be as fun and as well-rounded as possible. We try to find material that would be interesting. We'll learn about, children living in the coldest place on earth, children living in the warmest place on earth. Those are interesting things for your child. It helps them to develop an interest in reading, and just, it overall helps them to develop a yearning for new knowledge, which is what they really should have at this age. Next slide, please. Okay, so in terms of the learning from this new environment, children really should learn on the fly in this new setting. You don't, like I just said, you don't have to have a structured setting where, okay, this is what you do at this time. It's Saturday morning, and I want you to complete, all of these, questions, and you need to, here's a book with, 500 pages and so forth. Sure, you need to encourage them to read, but it could be interspersed with other things. For example, when it is safe, and if it is safe where you live, they can be masked up, and you can put some gloves on them, and they can go out and discover their environment. Maybe it's a little pebble with unusual colors. Maybe there's a butterfly outside. Maybe they want to catch that butterfly to examine it carefully. Perhaps there's a little bottle lying around with a lid. Maybe they can catch the butterfly and examine it and then let it loose. Perhaps they may want to look at the different shapes of the leaves out there. It's spring now, and the leaves are changing different shades of green. Buds may still be buds around. The flowers are coming up. So you want them to take advantage of that. And the reason why is because they need to have an appreciation for nature. I mean, this is the environment in which we live. We're now slowed down to a point where we could just take a deep breath and say, wow, we actually have those clouds in the sky, cumulus, cumulonimbus, cirrus, all the different clouds. And they can write about all of this. That's what, is so interesting, in that kids, their minds are, like little sponges, and they want to share. They do. They really do want to share. You'll probably see when they are exposed to something new, they want to tell you about it, and you should listen. You should encourage them to share. And use that opportunity to say, why don't you write about it? Have them write a couple of paragraphs about it. It's good. You'll have a chance to see how they can express themselves. And when they want to ask you, how do I spell this word, environment? You can easily say, let's look it up online. If you don't have a laptop, you can say, let me try my phone. So there's no excuse, everything is there. Or you can lend them your phone, and they'll look up the word. So now they've got to spell the word, and they can find out exactly all the derivatives of this word. So next slide. Okay. So this is another wonderful thing you can do. You can develop your child's creativity and their ability to think differently. Each child is unique. Each of us as adults, we're all unique. So just know your child is just the same. They are different in every single way, and they grow up to be like us, adults who are different in every way. So the point is, you want to make sure that you encourage your child during this time. If they say, I am bored, there's so much to learn right now. Just encourage them to say, well, perhaps, so-and-so's birthday is coming up. Mike's birthday is coming up. You may want to make him a card. And so go ahead and encourage them to make cards. Mother's Day is coming up. They can make cards. You can use toilet paper or, paper towel holders to make things, perhaps create something and stuff it in there, perhaps little notes. And then maybe on Saturday or Sunday, each person pulls one and reads it and kind of, that's their motto for the week. This is a very special time. It's like, so you want to create a daily schedule. We talked about that. Specifically have them do this. Wake up in the morning at the same time every morning, as if they're going to school. Get dressed. And then basically they want to eat at the same time. The same thing that you would normally do when they're going to school. So, and if it is that you have a youngster in your home who takes effort to pick out their clothes in the morning, you want to do what it is that you do the night before, which is encourage them to select their clothing for the next day, the night before. Okay, they'll lay out that clothes, whatever it is that you're going to wear. And so that way we're not dealing with that in the morning. Decide where everyone is going to work, like I said, with minimal distractions. Okay, have it all structured. List the times for learning and for breaks, for lunch breaks. So you've got breakfast at 7 o'clock perhaps. They're going to help you remove the dishes, wash the dishes, clear off everything if they're using the kitchen table. And then at 8:30 or 9, whatever time, language may start. At 10, they may have social studies, or 11, math, or whatever it is. Make sure they adhere to that. And then whenever there's a lunch break, provide that lunch break. And then at the ending of the day, once school is done, then make sure they have a break, and then they can start on whatever CAFÉ activities there may be. And make sure they get some exercise as well. They need that. Have them, get up. They can, if they're not in a situation where they can go outside and walk, have them get up and touch their toes, do some stretches and so forth. Make sure you have dinner just about the same time if you can every day. Enjoy family time together. Playing games, encourage, watching movies together, and then some time to read. Stick with, whatever that normal routine would be as much as possible. So that you want to make sure that everyone is adhering to those guidelines, to that schedule that's established. Mm-hmm. So, and especially as it relates to bedtime, you want to make sure that everybody's going to bed at a certain time, that time that you set up. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble. If that bedtime changes, it goes from 9, it goes from 10, 11, next thing you've got a young one going to bed at 12. No, you need to set that bedtime up and make sure they adhere to it. It is always best for their young minds to get as much sleep as possible. Thank you, Grace. Okay, so now we've got a lot of parents who are like, questioning now after all these years. We said, don't have them spend so much time on the laptop. Don't have them spend so much time with, whatever screen gadgets they may be using. But now it is for a different reason, okay? This is how they're going to learn. This is their new norm. So what you have to do is to make sure that they're using that screen time, that laptop, that iPad, whatever it is, they are making good use of their time while they're exposed to this particular technology. Use this screen time for the good. Check in on neighbors, check in on friends and loved ones. Check in on, grandparents. We always felt our grandparents, our kids' grandparents were so close, but now with the social distancing, they're not that close anymore. We have to be very careful because we don't want to expose their grandparents, our parents, to the COVID-19 virus. That would be a whole nother issue and challenge. So to protect our family members who are at risk, we need to use social media now. We need to use the phone. We need to use, these new means to connect. And for those of you whose children are very active and they're, extroverts, and even the introverted children, you want them to connect socially with their friends. Use social media, arrange Zoom chats and so forth, or you can, in a school setting, they may be encouraged to have Microsoft Teams chats and so forth. But it's very important that you as a parent check in. Some of us are working from home, and we may be in meetings, but periodically, just take a bathroom break and just check in to make sure that content is appropriate and it is from trusted sources. So make sure, even if it's games and they're taking a break, you need to make sure that that it is above board and something to which you would want your child to be exposed. Use media as much as possible together to see how your older children, as well as how your younger children, may be learning, and watch movies together. Grace, thank you. So post-pandemic. So for now, we want to make sure that your child is completing their schoolwork on their laptops or whatever means they have to complete their assignment. And the reason why is because the school system spends so much money on the purchase of this technology, laptops and so forth, that I suspect that when students return to their traditional school buildings, brick and mortar, as we may say, they may still be doing assignments using their laptops, okay? So parents, you need to encourage your child to complete these assignments, including CAFÉ's assignments. Make sure that they are doing them because you want to continue to build that good work-study habit in them. Those are good values. You are given an assignment, you need to complete the assignment, and your child is always looking to you for guidance, so please provide it. If you're at home and you're allowing them to not complete assignments and they figure, okay, I'm not going to do it, I'm home and with my parents, I don't have to. When they go to school, when they return to school and they're given an assignment, be it on their laptop or otherwise, they're going to be like, oh, I didn't have to complete my assignment, especially using my laptop. So parents, this is the only time that you have with your child. It may be the only time. Hopefully, we never ever have another pandemic like this, but we never know, right? We pray that we don't, but use this opportunity, dear parents, to make the best of your child, to look at their strengths and encourage those strengths and enhance those strengths, and look at their weaknesses and actually help them reach out to CAFÉ, reach out to the schools. Let's do the best we can for your child to make them be the best citizen that they could possibly be one day. You know, as we go through this process, we're going to see a transformation in technology, and we all have to learn, be it using, you know, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google, or what have you. We're all learning, dear parents, not just you, all of us. And you have to do it in order to be the best parent so that you can provide the, you know, the best guidance and environment for your child. Make sure that your child comes out of this ahead and not behind. And you know exactly what I mean. We do not want our children at all, especially our children of color, left behind after this pandemic. And I'm really, really asking you, we're going to do our best at CAFÉ, and I'm pleading with you to encourage your child to complete whatever assignments. Their learning must go on. We ask you to reach out to us if you have any questions. We will not allow our children to left behind. Absolutely not. We have resources. Take advantage of this time to make your child be the best they could be. Thank you, Grace.
I just had to unmute. Again, thank you, Dr. Aitchison, for you know, expounding on, elaborating on, deliberating on what our kids, especially now, are needing to keep them on par, is what we're saying. Keep them on par with their academic studies. As we both know, it's probably easier said than done. However, if we have a path that we can, you know, follow, it helps to get to that endpoint. With no path, you're just going in circles. So I think what this affords our audience, as they have the time to review it and they see all the pointers that you've shared, that they can customize it to their personal situations, but more importantly, know that giving your child an opportunity to be the best that they can be is far more worth it than not having such an option to do so. And so I want to say thank you so much again that you took the time this morning to share your expertise and again, the valued information as we face this COVID pandemic. We all are praying that we'll see the best of our best as this dissipates and the proper regimens are put in place to make sure that everyone is going to be safe. So Dr. Aitchison, again, on behalf of CAFÉ leadership, of course, Mrs. Lorna Green, and all of the board members, I want to thank you again for taking the time to share again this wonderful, informative, educational piece that again will benefit all of our students and all of our audience who happens to listen in on this video. So with that, I want to say thank you, and we appreciate it and are very grateful. And please have a great day, and let's all continue to stay safe and look forward to spring days and summer days that may be more opening for us to be in a together situation. So thank you so much, and
You're
stay
welcome,
safe.
Grace. It's been
Thank
my
you.
pleasure.
A pleasure to having you. Thank you so much.